Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you a movie review. This time we're going to be talking about Terminator Genisys. And, I'm going to catch a lot of people by surprise with this, I'm guessing. But I honestly love the movie, I'll be honest. Now, I'm not the biggest Terminator fan. I'm not, obsessed with the franchise or anything like that, but I do enjoy the films. And I will say, I am happy to own this on Blu-ray and DVD. I'm happy to have bought this recently. Now I need to go back and rewatch Terminator 2 Judgment Day at some point. But as of right now, it's my favorite Terminator movie, Terminator Genisys. And I know this movie got a lot of hate. It still does at this point. But I honestly don't see what was so I don't see what was so wrong with it, to be honest. And now, like I said, I'm not the biggest Terminator fan, so maybe I'm not as pissed off about certain changes or alterations they made in this movie as some people would be. But even that aside, I think there's a lot to enjoy about this film. You have Arnold Schwarzenegger back in, top form the way we enjoyed him in the earlier films. He's exactly as good as he was then. So there's that. And I know that's one of the things people actually liked about the movie generally was him, so there's that. Emilia Clarke, who of course we know mostly as Daenerys, the Mother of Dragons on Game of Thrones, as Sarah Connor. I liked her in it. I know people, think of Linda Hamilton as a legend of the series and stuff like that, and, I get that. But I do think Emilia Clarke played, her version of the character pretty well too. I don't think she did a bad job whatsoever. She wasn't overly impressive in the role. I won't say she was amazing or anything, but I think she definitely got better as it went on. I definitely grew to like her character more and more, so that was good. And he had Jai Courtney in it as Kyle Reese, and I know a lot of people aren't big on Jai Courtney. I'm not really either. He was okay in this movie. He's not really impressive acting wise or anything, to be honest, but I don't know, I did still see heart in the character, so apparently he didn't do everything wrong, right? So I thought he was fine in the movie. He wasn't impressive, he wasn't bad though. He was just okay in this movie, and I was fine with him. Then Jason Clarke as John Connor. I actually really liked him in the role. Of course, there's that big twist with the character that was pretty much revealed in the trailers, which was a pretty bad move, I think. But when it showed the scenes of him and Kyle Reese in the future, I actually bought into his version of John Connor. I bought into that he was supposed to be this highly respected leader of the Resistance. So I think he did a good job with that version of the character. And then when he is corrupted by the machines, we see that he becomes the primary antagonist later on. I thought he did a fine job in that villain role too. Now a lot of people were pissed off that they did that to John Connor's character, but I don't know, I didn't throw a fit over it. And I honestly give credit to the movie for trying to do something a little bit different with the story anyway. Of course, they kind of go back and they take some things out of the timeline, then they put it back in, then it kind of gets all mixed up. And I will admit, parts of that story were a little confusing, but I don't think it was dreadful. I thought it kept my interest all the way through, I'll say that. And I forgot to add that I'm also a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. I like a lot of his action movies. I even liked other movies he did, Kindergarten Cop and Twins even. So I'm a big Schwarzenegger fanatic, I guess. And like I said, he's in top form here just as good as he was in the earlier movies. And it's a role where he doesn't really have to show a lot of emotion, because he's a robot. There's literally supposed to be emotionless. But Schwarzenegger's shown he has some really good acting chops recently with Maggie. He was great in that. So he's capable of it, but this role just requires him to be robotic, so it makes sense that he wouldn't show too much emotion in the role. But I do like how they always write the character to give him the possibility of actually being able to care. I think that's one of the more interesting things about the character and the universe, really. I actually wish they'd explore that a little bit more at some point. I know they did a good amount in T2. But I like, if they do make another movie, I would like that to be more of a focus, like more of that drama side of it, maybe. Even though I know they're supposed to be big action movies and stuff, but the little moments they did have showing I did actually care about Sarah Connor in particular, I think were actually done pretty well when they did have that on screen. Like there's this line at the end that actually hits me in the feels a little bit that he gives, and like even a subtle little thing like Sarah seeing that he has pictures of her after he was hiding out for what was it, almost 20 years, not hiding out, but as he was like prepping for almost 20 years for them to come back and stuff like that. He's seen little pictures, she's seen little pictures of her, you know, that he kept and he hung up and stuff like that. So would a robot really do that if he doesn't care? You know, it gives you something to think about. I thought they do that pretty well too. And I'll talk about the ending in a little bit. The action I thought was pretty enjoyable all the way through. I know some people were saying, you know, it wasn't like necessarily bad, but you know, there wasn't like a memorable action sequence. And you know, there's something that like was like that blew me away as far as action scenes go, but I thought there were a couple pretty good, you know, really good ones actually. The whole thing with the bus on the bridge, I like that sequence, and the final fight in particular between John Connor and, you know, the T-800, the Guardian, or Pops, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger's character in this movie. I thought that was pretty cool too, you know, back and forth. I like that a lot. I like that the T-800, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't have to get his ass kicked the whole time either. He was actually a Guardian like he was supposed to be, so he worked really well. We also had, you know, so the action was good. We also had J.K. Simmons in this. I have to mention him before I forget. You know, he had a small role as a detective that was actually thinking there's something more going on here, that he is actually becoming aware of, you know, the machines and things like that. And J.K. Simmons is like the perfect guy to have in that type of role. You know, like he's actually right in this case, but if you see him as J. Jonah Jameson, you know, just him like going all crazy at these theories and conspiracies and stuff, he plays that off really well. Except he's, like I say, he's right in this. I actually would have liked to have seen more of him, but he does help Sarah, Kyle, and the Guardian out. So, you know, he was entertaining while he was there. Would have liked to have seen more of him, though. And back to the action part of it. You know, CGI effects, for the most part, I thought they were good. There are a couple moments where I think they were a little bit lesser than you would expect them to be, but I don't think any of them were absolutely terrible. And for the most part, I think they're pretty damn good. I've seen a hell of a lot worse, so, you know, I like it. Something else about Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, you know, they say he looks older because they use real human tissue, you know, to, you know, put that on the machines and stuff like that, and it actually ages. And, you know, some people didn't really buy into it. I don't know if that totally makes sense, I'll be honest, but I don't know, I just rolled with it, and that's just like such a little thing about the movie, you know. Is it really that big of an issue either way, if that makes sense or not? No, I don't think so. Just one of the many things about the movie that I think people completely blew out of proportion. And it's really unfortunate that it sounds like a sequel might not be happening. I know it was removed from Paramount's schedule or something like that recently, the sequel. They're planning on doing a trilogy. And, you know, a couple of people behind it are still optimistic that a sequel could happen. They just want to, you know, hear some fans out on their issues with this movie and stuff like that and see what they can do. I know James Cameron gets the rights back in 2019 or something, so they might just do another movie after that anyway. Whether it'll be connected to Genisys or not, I'm not sure. But I don't think it's the last we've seen of Arnold Schwarzenegger in these movies. I personally would love a sequel to Genisys. I do hope somehow it still happens. Like I said, I thought it was a great film. I enjoyed the hell out of it, to be completely honest. My favorite Terminator movie. Like I said, I have to go back and watch the second one, but I'll be honest, I'm going to go against the large majority here and say it's actually my favorite, and I loved it. So I do hope they are able to do a sequel with that. And if not, the ending wasn't like a huge cliffhanger. It gave us some really good resolution. It gave us some satisfaction with our characters at the end, but also left things really open for it to continue. So either way, it won't be it won't like kill me if it doesn't get a sequel, but it'll be unfortunate. But it won't kill me because I actually felt a sense of closure with it, even though there's still things that were starting to go on anyway. But anyway, I don't know if I explained that the right way, but I hope you guys know what I meant. Also, I will say one little gripe I had with this movie was probably the runtime. I do think it was a little bit longer than it had to be. It did feel a little bit stretched out, sort of like within like that middle between like the first and second act. It felt like a little longer than it had to be. But overall, it really picked up. It kept up a really fast pace, I thought. It wasn't like uneven or anything. I just didn't expect it to be over 2 hours long. But really, that's just a minor gripe, and it really wasn't that big of a deal to me anyway. As the movie got in more and more into it, it didn't really affect it for me after that. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay. And then they also had Arnold fight a younger version of himself in this. They basically used another guy's body to look like he did in the 80s, and then they put Arnold's head on him, I should say. And I thought that was pretty fun. And there was some CGI for that guy was alright though. It wasn't the best, and he wasn't used very much, but he didn't have to be. I'm glad they didn't rely on that gimmick of Arnold versus Arnold too much. There's another thing I just thought of to talk about, but now I forgot. That's great, isn't it? Let's see. Yeah, and like I said, I did like Jason Clarke as John Connor. I did buy into how close him and Kyle Reese were in, the opening scenes and stuff like that, so cool. Let's see. It was also cool to see Sarah Connor be a badass right away, so Kyle Reese is expecting to meet her as a waitress, not aware that any of this was going on, but then, it turns out the Guardian is basically training her for years already, so she's a complete badass in this movie. And, she's sort of like in the middle road, because she knows that she's supposed to fall in love with this Kyle Reese guy, and they're supposed to do all these things together, but she's also seen him die tragically protecting her too, and so she's sort of like, do I really want this for myself or not? Do I want to keep putting myself through this? And she also questions, like, do I have to fall in love with this person? Do I get a chance to even like stop and think about it and make the choice for myself? But of course they do end up together anyway. Let's see, and of course Emilia Clarke looks nice too. I won't deny that. Of course, it's a PG-13 movie, so no nudity, but we did get some like back shots and stuff like that. So that was nice, I'll admit. But really, she did pull off the role pretty well for what it was, I thought, acting-wise too. And yeah, I'm definitely going to talk about the ending. Like I said, the main fight we had between the T-800 and John Connor, I thought was actually pretty cool. And the T-800 actually puts him in this like magnetic field type of thing, and Genisys turns out to be the whole thing behind all this that's going on. And we get the Doctor Who dude, who's really the image of this system, and he actually ends up surviving the explosion and stuff that follows, and that was kind of like our lead into a sequel that was still continuing. But I thought he did fine in what he was doing too, and it was satisfying to see what was supposed to be John Connor finally destroyed at the end. And again, the T-800 sacrifices himself just like he usually does. But the line I totally got hit me in the feels as he's like holding John Connor in that field. He tells Kyle Reese to protect my Sarah. And that hit me in the feels. I don't know about you guys. But that definitely confirms that he does develop, feelings for people. He does end up caring, whether his programming lets him talk about it all the time or not. You can tell it's there, you can tell it's growing, so I really like that part. And, I also thought it was a touching scene with Kyle Reese talking to his younger self, on the farm and stuff like that. And it's also a cool development that basically the T800 is going to be like a T1000 now. He has all those morphing abilities and stuff that appeared because he was knocked into the liquid metal at the end and stuff. So I think that's pretty cool. I would like to see that continue in the next movie, see him get to use more badass stuff like that for himself. That'd be awesome. And yeah, so not a whole lot more to say about this movie, but I honestly enjoyed the hell out of it. Schwarzenegger was good. Emilia Clarke did fine. Jai Courtney wasn't great, but he was okay. He was serviceable. Jason Clarke was good. The effects were really good for the most part. The ending was satisfying, but still leaves us open if we do end up getting a sequel, which I really hope we do. And yeah, so I think it's one of the best movies I've seen in a while, actually. And I'm going to go against the crowd and say Terminator Genisys is awesome-tacular. And no, I'm not going to steal that from Jeremy Johns, but I honestly love the movie. Hope you guys found some enjoyment out of it, and if you didn't, we can talk about the negatives you felt were in the movie in the comments below if you want to. Just be mature about it, and respect that some people can enjoy some things you don't. Okay? Alright. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys next time. My 100 review and my Vampire Diaries Originals reviews will be late this week, as will the Walking Dead video. But I'll try to get those to you guys as soon as possible, but it's just getting difficult with my work and trying to make time with my girlfriend and stuff. But anyway, enough about my personal life. Catch you guys next time, and I'll be back. I've done a cheaper outro than that. Anyway, really good film. Don't care what anyone else says.